My husband Sam and I have 3 kids. After the birth of my youngest son, Sam and I rarely went on a romantic trip alone, as it was challenging to reconcile for several reasons. When my youngest son turned 18 and moved because of college, I was very excited because we always agreed to go to France to stay in a beautiful hotel in a fancy room. After all, it was my dream, and with 3 children, I couldn't do it totally. My husband then asked to make it a surprise. He would book everything, restaurants, a hotel, plane tickets, but I told him which hotel I wanted to stay in and the type of room, as it was always my dream trip with him. We are in an excellent financial situation, so we could easily pay for it. We arrived at the hotel. He spoke to the receptionist and we went to the room. I was shocked when I found my children and mother waiting for us. My excitement went downhill from there. Honestly, I couldn't hide it because it wasn't what I imagined. It got worse when he said that because there were too many people to pay. He got cheaper rooms and that our son would sleep with us because it was cheaper. I tried to keep up appearances, but I gave my husband that look. And when I could, I went to the receptionist and asked for a better room for me. He paid with my service bonus, which is something my husband and I don't share, agreed between us. My husband was super annoyed, saying that this was a rude thing to do, and that he wanted to have his family time but couldn't afford something more expensive, in addition to having reacted poorly to his surprise. It would be everyone's first time, and he wanted to give this moment for the first time at the same time to everyone, so he didn't even want to go to my room. I loved visiting all the places, but having a presence of 5 more people, it was highly discouraging. I love my children, my mother and my sister-in-law, but it was my dream to have a romantic trip for 2. It's Retaliation. It's worth saying that every year, except during the global issue, we travel to another country. We've never been to France. The trip was okay. My husband and I were not doing very well. When we got home, he said my attitude of paying more for an expensive suite was childish and made everyone uncomfortable, and that my discouragement spoiled our trip. I, the idiot? Yes, when I said I wanted to go to France, I said I wanted a romantic trip for only 2. Who hasn't heard of a romantic trip for 7? That's every new empty nester's dream, isn't it? Also, with the mother-in-law, I can't think of anything more romantic. You are not the idiot, but I think paying for a more expensive room is the least of your problems. I would ask him why he invited the others along and think that you'd like it when he knew you wanted, and were expecting a romantic trip for 2, but only 1 kid was sleeping with them. Oh, help, your husband never listened to what you wanted and invited 5 other people. Why plus your mom and mother-in-law, because the kids weren't enough. If I arrived at a trip planned by my wife and found my mother there, I would have turned around and left. Also, he's not seeing that sharing a room with an 18-year-old is ridiculous. How you are in France, this is not some low-budget family vacation. But how did your mom keep this a secret from you? Did she know about the fact that you wanted a romantic trip? And your kids? What's wrong with the rest of your family? It's so crappy. He failed massively at the task. I'm very sorry. It's disappointing. And also planning things for 7 people to do in Paris is a big hassle and requires a lot of coordination, plus it's expensive. And it's not romantic at all. You've had plenty of family vacations, and this was not that. You need couples counseling, but to house out kind beings. To be more generous to the husband, it might be that he doesn't know how to be an adult without being a father. Their youngest is 18 and they're in their early 40s. It's their adulthood in marriage has been defined by parenthood. He might not know how to be a husband outside of parenthood. His behavior is still unacceptable, but it matters whether his behavior is driven by how he sees her or by how he sees himself. I have 2 stepsisters and a bio sister. My bio sister Elia is getting married soon. Our oldest stepsister Hannah hadn't met Elia's fiancé until this recent incident, as she lives in Dubai and we live in London. Leia introduced her fiancé to Hannah, but then had to leave as her fiancé wanted to introduce her to the other guests. After she left, Hannah kept asking us if that was Elia's fiancé. My other stepsister kept saying, "I know." Hannah kept cracking jokes about how Elia managed to trick him into dating her and how they didn't match as a couple. At one point, she said she would have thought that he'd want somebody more his and his family's level. At first, I wasn't going to say anything to Elia since I knew it would just upset her. Since Hannah claimed to be joking, but we're all going to be bridesmaids, and I know it's going to come with some nice gifts and at least one free trip, which I don't think Hannah deserves after what she said. So I told Elia, and she was really upset that she started crying. Her fiancé saw, and now he doesn't want either of my stepsisters at the wedding, and has uninvited them all from pre-wedding activities. This has caused a lot of drama in my family, and my stepsisters and stepdad are angry at me. My mom told me that sometimes it's best not to say anything, especially since I've made things worse. Since I made Elia feel so insecure that she's trying to convince her fiancé that they should just have a small courthouse wedding. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If I were put in the same situation, I would tell my bio the stuff my stepsisters were saying. How cruel and mean of them. We should all applaud your sister's fiancé for not taking their wicked stepsister crap and standing up for her. Instead, they're just angry that they aren't going to get free expensive crap. Exactly. If they're already saying that at her pre-wedding party, then just imagine what crap they'd be spewing at the wedding. And there would be other people there that would definitely overhear and probably tell the bride, just as Oak did. You're the idiot. Essentially, you destroyed Elia's joy in her forthcoming nuptials. She's lost confidence enough to want a courthouse wedding. How many brides dream about a courthouse wedding? Because you didn't think Hannah deserved the perks that came with being a bridesmaid. Full of yourself much? Whether she was joking or not, it's not your business. Because you didn't think Hannah deserved the perks that came with being a bridesmaid. Not full of yourself much. Whether she was joking or not, it's not your business, or Hannah's or anyone's but her betrothed, to determine whether Elia is good enough to be his wife. Thus, you shared some irrelevant gossip that did no one any good, just angered many people and forever tainted the couple's start in life. No, she shared that the stepsisters were being idiots, which her sister deserved to know before letting them be at her wedding. I would have been so angry if I found out after the ceremony that not only were two of my bridesmaids being idiots to me behind my back, but that my sister knew and never told me. I'd be super upset at my sister for keeping it from me. A piece of zero. I, a 20-year-old female, am the youngest in the friend group, 5 not including myself. The rest are between 25 and 27. I've known everyone in the core group since I was born. We lived in a complex. Everyone kind of knew everyone. And since all our families were so close, it was a pick and choose sort of deal. Don't like mom's cooking. Go to Mike's instead. Anyone's welcome. I grew up with these 5 like cousins. Every day for 3 school years, I would come home at around 3:45 and spend time with the core 5 in the back of the complex or out and about until my mom got home. They weren't forced to, but they did it anyway. I'm closest to Michael, though. He had a brother who would have been a few months younger than me, but he was born with extreme complications and died when he was a year old. It was devastating, and Mike told me he saw his brother in me. This is all to say that the core 5 and I are extremely close in our family. Anyway, enough backstory. Mike got engaged last week, and we were throwing him a party. I don't particularly like his fiancée, as she seems intimidated by our closeness. But I've reassured her that I see him like a brother, so she has nothing to worry about. I've also kept my feelings to myself. I see no reason to tell Mike that I dislike his fiancée, especially since, up until this point, we haven't had any overt issues. Plus, his love life is not my thing to meddle in. I'm a grown adult who can deal with disliking someone without ruining a relationship. Mike and I sat in the back of a flatbed drinking and smoking, and he pulled the blanket up to cover both of us, as British winters are cold. I put my head on his shoulder and ended up falling asleep. He woke me up as we pulled up to my place. I generally didn't think anything of it until a few days later, when he came to pick me up. Jane was in the car too. When he stopped for petrol, Jane and I were alone for a few minutes. I tried small talk, but she immediately jumped down my throat about how dare I cozy up to Mike. She said she hates how romantic we act. I reiterated that Mike is my brother, and she needs to talk to Mike about her boundaries and issues. When Mike returned to the car, she decided it was time to bring it up. I felt completely embarrassed and went to one of my other friends, not the core 5, for advice. They all told me they get Jane's perspective, especially since he pulled the blanket up, and she doesn't know what's going on there. They all said that it was a witch move to talk back to her since that looks suspicious. Now I'm wondering if I'm the idiot for cozying up next to him. He is my brother, just not by blood. Yeah, the girl trying to get with my now ex-husband reassured me that she didn't see him that way, and I told her to back off then. Within a couple of days, she was texting him very inappropriate things. And he went along with it. It completely ruined our marriage. You're the idiot if he's like a brother to you, then backing off from doing things like this shouldn't change your relationship with him. But if it does, then he's not just a brother. Good on Jane for confronting you both. You're both the issue here. You two aren't this dumb to think that sharing a blanket and cuddling under it wouldn't get to a romantic partner. She didn't just confront you, she confronted him too. The fact that you felt embarrassed about that is good. Obviously, your dislike is seething through by just this one act alone. She was within her right to mention it to you, since you're like his sister after all. Perhaps her place was snuggling up to her fiancé, Mike. Suppose Mike is like your brother. Then, it should have been okay for her to address this issue with Mike in front of you since it involved both of you. A full disclosure concerning all parties scenario. If you're that cold, go snuggle with someone not attached or committed, and to beat it all, this was at their engagement party. The OG, get some boundaries or you will lose. You'll lose your friend. My parents had 2 girls, me, nearly an adult female, and my sister, a teen. I've always felt like my parents saw me as a babysitter and a 3rd adult in the house, expecting me to be mature. In contrast, my sister was their baby. They spoiled her rotten, but they adore her. She's never wanted for anything and they do everything to make her happy. I was expected to help take care of my sister for as long as I can remember. She's not special needs, never sick, and wasn't even a preemie. I remember I'd come home from school and Mom would help me help feed my sister. She'd have me watch her. Then, while she was in and out of the house, I would be told I needed to play with her if my sister was upset. She'd miss me a lot and my parents would insist I dedicate my time to her once I was home. We'd go out as a family and she'd want something and they'd get it for her. But I would be told to act my age if I wanted something. She would get to hang out with friends whenever she wanted and have amazing birthday parties and sleepovers that I was never allowed to have. I also never got to attend sleepovers at other friends' houses. Sometimes my parents would take her to do amazing stuff and I was left behind. But over time, my sister started to get annoyed by my pulling back when I was around 15. I kept to myself and I'm moody around them. I don't engage in the family. I take the punishments rather than do chores since she has none. My parents hate that I won't be the little housekeeper they wanted. My sister has told me I'm a brat and ungrateful for not helping our amazing parents. But over time it's gotten worse. Then she heard my plan to leave with my friends in a couple of months. She was so angry that I was going to leave my family behind and that I hadn't told the family anything. She talked about how Mom and Dad had saved for us to go to college, and I just wanted to run away. Something broke inside of me when she said that. I told her she has a college fund waiting for her, but I don't. Just like she can get anything she wants, while I'm told to act my age and not want anything. I told her I wasn't that much older than her, but everyone expected me to be the adult. I asked her how she'd feel if she was supposed to juggle a younger sibling, take care of the bulk of household chores and schoolwork, and not get time with friends. The only reason I have anything is I work, but it leaves me exhausted because I already have so much on. So I told her that's my life, and she doesn't make me want to stay any more than our parents do. And to cut this short, She's upset and I was called an idiot for being so mean to her. Your sister said you were an idiot for dumping all that on her shoulders, but it was okay while all that was on your shoulders alone for all those years. It sounds like she needed a reality check, and you need to get out of there as soon as possible. Your childhood was stolen from you. Don't let them take any more. There's a difference between being mean and being honest at a breaking point. You didn't call her names. You didn't say things to insult her. All you did was tell her how you felt all these years. If her response to being told that you have had nothing your whole life while she's had everything is to call you mean, she's too far gone. Maybe later in life, she'll see what's happening and may try to make amends, and you can have a sister. But do a DNA test once you're free. I have a hunch that she might be your half-sister. Yeah, I thought the same. A child of a different man vibes? Something tells me that one of the parents had an affair, decided to try to make it work, and unfortunately had their kid at the butt of the built-up resentment. Either that, or there's some weird cultural thing where the older sibling is expected to be alive and made, or butler once another sibling is born, which is still just as messed up. Luckily, my daughter, Hazel Play, has been going through a phase. I'm not one bit conventionally attractive, to say the least, and Hazel's mad at me for giving birth to her and giving her bad genetics. Everything bad that happens to her, she'll blame me. She tells me that I should have never had kids since I knew they'd be ugly and monstrous. It has been bugging me, and I hope she'll grow out of it. Honestly, sometimes she makes me feel bad for having her. I try to be as polite as I can whenever she says these things, but today was my last straw. She was late for school. When she came home, she told me that she would never be late if she didn't have to spend hours putting on makeup to hide my horrid face. I'll puzzle I was sorry and that I could pay for her plastic surgery if she wanted. Hazel has been even colder towards me than she had before, but am I the idiot for saying that? You're the adult, so you suck more for appearing to agree with your extremely insecure teenage daughter that she needs surgery to fix her face. I think that's why that was painful for your daughter. It validated her interior dialogue about how she's ugly. She needs you not to agree with that, ever. Sorry, but what is wrong with you? Up is a parent, yes, but she's also a human. I can understand that the daughter is frustrated, but calling your mom ugly and making her feel bad that she gave birth to you is disgusting. Sorry, but she can't have sympathy for me about this. I can understand how hard it is with these societal expectations, but to say that the mom is the wrong one in this whole story is just wrong. Not the idiot OPL. It would be frustrating to be told off by your daughter like this constantly. Also, teenagers can be brutal, so I can only imagine how hurtful it would be to be put down like that continually. Actually, I don't think you were the idiot. It probably wasn't the best joke to make, but what response was she looking for? I think you both need to improve your self-esteem, and maybe therapy will help. Honestly, if a kid constantly verbally abused me, called me hideous, and said I was so ugly that I should have never procreated, I may have snapped and told them a lot worse. Teenagers are immature, but they know when they're being mean and cruel. For example, if your sister bullied another student because of their looks, there would be no misunderstanding that they knew they were being mean.